Zero in on the Russia probe and the origins of that Russia probe. Legal activist group Judicial Watch filing a Freedom of Information lawsuit this week against the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the DNI office. The group is requesting all records of the Oval Office meeting in January 2017, where the Steele dossier and General Michael Flynn were discussed. The meeting reportedly included President Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and FBI Director Jim Comey. Joining me right now is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. And Tom, it is great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And we know that that meeting took place on January 5th of 2017. And even then, Tom, January 17, the president had been elected. He's about 2 weeks away from his inauguration. They still had nothing. No evidence in terms of any collusion with Russia, which was the story they had been going with for 2 years prior.
Well, that's right. And the day before the meeting, the FBI had concluded there was no there with General Flynn, yet that was kept open, that investigation. They talked about it on January 5th. They not only talked about Flynn withholding information potentially from the incoming Trump administration on national security issues, but they also talked about that dossier. The next day, Comey goes to President-elect Trump, confronts him with the dossier, not because he was warning him about anything, but because he was investigating him and spying on him after that meeting with President Obama. Joe Biden, it turns out, he was talking about the Logan Act and General Flynn, completely out to lunch in terms of any legal basis to investigate the incoming national security advisor. And then we have new emails last week from Peter Strzok that show that as soon as Trump gets into the Oval Office, he's talking about using counterintelligence briefings that the FBI is giving, presumably Trump and top officials at the White House, to investigate them, not to educate them, which is what the purpose of the briefings are, but as a vehicle to spy on Team Trump in the White House. These documents, by the way, the FBI has had obviously for years, and are just turning them over to us this week or this month.
Well, that's right. And Lindsey Graham made it public. I spoke with the senator about a month ago, and he told me this was coming. Here's what he said 1 month ago. Watch Lindsey Graham. If they knew in January of 2017 that the dossier was garbage, and the guy from Russia who brought them the dossier to Christopher Steele also disavowed of the dossier, and yet they still used it to continue getting re-upped warrants for Carter Page, then that was fraud, and that you think that could mean jail time?
What did Horowitz tell us? He found a memo in the file where the intel analyst who interviewed the subsource said that subsource denied the details in the dossier, that he didn't provide all this. If the case agent, intel agent, told higher-ups that this whole case is falling apart and they kept going forward, then they're in trouble with the law.
Tom, you know what gets me is that all of these documents were sitting there, and Mueller didn't see them? I mean, for the whole Mueller investigation, none of these documents were given to Mueller?
Well, that's right. And General Flynn was being prosecuted by Mueller, even though they knew he wasn't involved with the Russians. Look, in early 2018, they made these big announcements about these indictments of Russia. They were saying that there was no evidence in these indictments that any American knowingly colluded with the Russians. It's been known not only by Mueller, but by the people supervising him, Rod Rosenstein, because he gave the briefing on it to the press, that there was no evidence that there was anything here. Look, when Page and Strzok talk about going just before Mueller's appointed, they say in their text messages, it looks like there's no big there. What has Durham been doing for 15 months is what I want to know.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this seems to be a whole scam. You know, a scam on top of a scam. You know, they get Mueller to do what they were doing based on nothing. And now we've got these concerns over mail-in voting. That's the next way I think that some of these skeptics are going to try to cheat going into this election. Fox News is reporting that recent weeks of mail-in voting has seen issues of lost ballots, slow delivery. Just this week, a memo from the United States Postal Service to its employees detailed budget cuts that could slow down mail delivery even further. Last month on Sunday Morning Futures, AG William Barr talked about the risks in mail-in voting. Listen to what he said. Got to get your reaction.
Well, there's a big discussion right now about mail-in voting. Hillary Clinton said it's fine, it's fair.
Well, it absolutely opens the floodgates to fraud. Those things are delivered into mailboxes. They can be taken out. There's questions about whether or not it even denies a secret ballot, because a lot of the states have you signing the outside of the envelope. So the person who opens the envelope will know how people voted. There's no, right now, a foreign country could print up tens of thousands of counterfeit ballots and be very hard for us to detect which was the right and which was the wrong ballot. So I think it can upset and undercut the confidence in the integrity of our elections.
Tom, I know you testified last month to the House Judiciary Committee about this issue. Your reaction?
Barr's absolutely right, and it's been supported by bipartisan analysis of this. You had the Baker-Carter Commission, which is James Baker, the Republican, and the former president, talk about why voter fraud is more likely to occur with mail-in ballots. Millions of extra names on the rolls. They're going to get ballots. If you want your vote to count, you need to go in person. That's the best way to do it, and vote at the polling place.
You know, Tom, the American people should be outraged. The president's critics hate him so much, whether it be the media or the Democrats, that they are willing to just blow off all of our laws, blow off our Constitution, you know, and it just doesn't matter to them. And they refuse to work with him at all. So I don't know. It's just extraordinary.
Well, I think we're going to have chaos on Election Day. We're more likely to have chaos on Election Day. We won't know who won in many races, potentially the presidency, and we could have fights that go into January of 2021, where it's decided finally in the House who the president is. This is serious. We've got millions of ballots that are being mailed in an experiment, to put it charitably, that's never happened before in American history. And who knows what's going to happen on Election Day as a result.
Unbelievable. Tom, we'll be watching. Thanks very much for all your great work on this. Your FOIA requests have unearthed so much. Thank you. Tom Fitton joining us there from Judicial Watch. We'll be right back.